Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Friday, February 2nd. Second day of February. So I see some people enjoyed the how to deal with toxic people in the workplace and how sometimes they're not toxic at all. It's just how they're going about things. And this is all how to deal with people, okay? So I thought this morning we would go into something along that same lines, a little deeper, and I'm going to give you part of a segment of my life of where it wasn't so great, because it hasn't always been great. And for most of you out there, your life hasn't been, a rose garden. It's struggles. And when I say that, each one of us has our garbage that we carry. Stay tuned. Alright, so welcome back. So what are we talking about today? What is on Eric's crazy mind, right? Humility. And okay, what about humility? I'm talking about how people... Well, let's go this direction. I'm normally somewhat of a private person, okay? And I always like doing things for myself. And, sometimes you have to rely on other people. And when I was involved in the mining accident in my 30s, I went from a top achiever, one of the best ones that put out production. And that's how, how much tonnage you were able to drill, shoot, with explosives and get it out. And I went from that to having the mine cave in. In a sense, took that all away in a split second, Because I went from being someone that was part of a team, part of a group of people, someone pulling my weight, to now I'm disabled. And my whole shoulder, I couldn't hardly move it, the chunks of bone in it. See, when that first happened, they took me to a company doctor, all right? And the company doctor, he was an old timer, and he'd been on the books for years. He said, son, go home, take some Tylenol, and here's a return to work, light duty. And I would show up, and they knew I couldn't do anything. And they would send me home. Humility. How did I go from doing so good and so well to now feeling useless, feeling like I was a failure? And you may be feeling that way right now. Most of us have to go through this. And some repeat it if we don't learn from it. Mine was a physical limitation. But as it progressed, see, I went ahead and I had within a couple weeks, a family member had told me, you need to go see a orthopedic surgeon and not this doctor and have it looked at. So I went, they set up the appointment. So I went and they looked, it's an orthopedic surgeon. And he said, Eric, we need to get this done this week. So you got bone shards. And that's why you're hearing that clicking. And that's why your arm locks up if you go so high with it. So I had the surgery done. And I'll tell you that the recovery from that was one of the most painful. I mean, even just to laugh or start to laugh or cough or hiccup. You know, I don't know if you guys have had it done before. Because they cut you from here all the way here, and they cut all the tendons to get at it. And they put you in this like balloon. It's like keep your arms in one position. And you're like that for weeks, okay, before they start physical therapy on you. But I tried numerous times to go back to work. And each time they would put me back out. And the last time that I tried going back to work at the mines, it was on the surface. Because in the mill, you know, I talked about being a utility. I worked my way up to assistant operator, and then I worked my way up to operator, where I operated the whole mill, you know, from the control room, before I went underground. So they knew I was a skilled operator. And they would bring me in for the evening shift. You know, like there was 2 shifts. And I finally got called into the office, and they said, you know, you are a liability to us, Eric. You are in pain. You can't do the job. So that was one of the lowest points in my life, you know. Not only was I hurt, now I'm being told that I no longer have a job. They don't want me because I'm a liability. And in all honesty, I was a liability because I hadn't had my spinal fusion yet. And what I wasn't telling them was I didn't have any feeling on one side of my body and my leg and my arm. I mean, I have full movement of it, but you could put a pin right into my hand, I would never feel it. And the worst thing to do to a person that has excelled at everything is tell them they're no longer wanted because of what could happen at work. So that meant I was home. And I started this spiral, okay? You know, there wasn't anything that anybody could say in a derogatory way that I wasn't already telling myself twofold. I was my own worst enemy. Period. Because by then, not only was I deemed a liability, but I was basically a drug addict, a prescribed drug addict, living on codeine to ease some of the pain. And that, see, a lot of people don't understand that alcohol and drugs, they're a depressant. So if you're not feeling that great to start with, and you think that drink or that drug, that fix is going to fix you, it'll give you a short-term high, but it will spin you deeper and deeper and deeper. Now, if you guys have never gone through this in your life, you're probably saying, you know, I don't get it. I really don't get it. But this episode is for you guys that do get it. That maybe you're me at that time, and you're at home and you feel useless. And now you're dealing with liability, you're in constant pain, you're a drug addict, prescribed drug addict, and now what comes along? Depression. That's why I always say with mental health that it can happen to anybody at any time. And it can take the strongest person, the strongest outgoing person, and just kind of decapitate everything that was good in your life. And again, you know, I was helping myself in that direction by telling myself how useless I was. But I found myself at home all day. And it was just a struggle just to get out of bed. And from there, you know, hygiene, doing simple tasks. When it got to its lowest point, because I didn't know how to claw my way back. And I'm thinking, what put me here? God, why did you allow this to happen to where I'm at right now? To where I don't have a reason to live. And that's why I say you have to be very careful when you're approaching someone that does have a mental health issue and they may be suffering from depression. See, being depressed and depression is two different things. Because I hear people say, oh, I'm just so depressed. No. You're probably feeling sad, but not depressed. See, it's all in how we use that term, I guess. Because depression is depression and sadness is sadness. Sadness, you can go find joy in something and not be as sad, right? And sadness doesn't last long periods of time, you know, it's short. Depression is depression. Everything could be going right in your life, and you can't see it. And for you guys that have never dealt with depression, I get it. You don't understand it. But if this episode helps one person that is going through depression, and you know if it's you, I'm going to help you help yourself. All right? And that's going to be by putting this video out so that you need to see it. All right, so back to the story. I'm home all day long. I have to rely on everybody else for even the smallest of tasks. And again, I went from an overachiever. Now I can't even do simple things. And it keeps spiraling and spiraling to the point of I need to do something. Something positive. The biggest thing that when you're down and out and when you're at your lowest point, sometimes you have to look at the simplest things of where to start. You have to retrain yourself. You have to I'm not sure of the right word. But for most of us, we have to seek treatment, mental health treatment, whether it be just therapy or therapy with a medication. Because no matter how hard you try, you can't will it away, right? It's all going to be based on you. Are you willing to do what it takes to get yourself back to being a productive individual, to where you're not feeling useless? And the first thing is accepting and identifying the fact that you are depressed. You are at your lowest point. You could be today planning out how to commit suicide. You're getting your things in order. And everything from your wills to everything. That's usually a telltale sign. If you see somebody that all of a sudden, goes from being very depressed to feeling better, you think, all right, they're feeling better. Well, they're feeling more, they've got a final purpose, and that is to just get rid of it all. And the only way they know how to get rid of themselves is to do just that. But they're still thinking about their family and making sure that they're still okay after they're gone. After you're gone, right? So here's the skivvy. Stop. Do you and me a favor and just stop where you're at right now. Because we cannot afford to lose another person to depression, to suicide. And for you guys that are out there that those people that have committed suicide that you may have known of, and you're thinking, I don't understand. He had so many things going for him. A beautiful wife, beautiful kids, beautiful home, beautiful cars. I don't get it. Depression is a death blow if you allow it to be. So what I'm asking you to do today is put the pen down. Stop getting your life in order because you've already decided when, where, and how it's going to take place. I want you to really stop and think about it. And I'm not going to give you a guilt trip of what you're doing to your spouse if you have one, to your kids if you have, to your family, because you already feel bad enough as it is. And throwing that guilt at you is not going to help any. It's going to actually reinforce that what you're doing is the right thing to do, because now you have become a burden on your family, a burden to everybody, and you are useless. This is what goes on inside your head. I had gotten to that point when I first started therapy. And it was a family member again that had set up the appointment and said, you're going. One way or another, you're going. And the first thing they did was they put me in patient for a week. And they decided that the big issue at hand was chronic depression. And what I can tell you is some of the medications that they tried, help with the depression side, but it doesn't help with trying to claw yourself back out of that hole. So now we're going to be to you guys that don't have depression, but feel you're at your lowest point and you can't figure out how to claw yourself back up. Humility. You have to start at the smallest point, the smallest tasks. Because we're more so looking at, how do I put it here? Instead of just making a task of sitting up in bed, we look at how do I go back to work, which is a humongous task that where we're at now we can't accomplish. We can't even accomplish getting out of bed, let alone the big items. So the way you have to do it is you have to take it down to the simplest form. And this could be any of you guys that maybe had, I know Amos went through a triple bypass and stuff like that, and he went through recovery. To any of you guys that you have to work your way back. You can't give up on yourself. And the way you do that is you start accomplishing the simple tasks. And that is just simply getting up out of bed every morning. Do that for a week. Get up out of bed. Don't lay in bed all day. Get up out of bed. And after a week, we're going to add another task. Get up out of bed and get a shower. And you're thinking, that's nothing. It may be nothing to the average person, but to somebody that's coming back out of depression or went through a major surgery that they have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. And now you've gotten out of bed and you're getting a shower, because now you've done getting out of bed for a week, and then you added for the second week taking a shower every morning when you get out of bed. And we're going to include in that getting dressed. You're not going to sit around all day long in sweatpants and a sweatshirt. You need to get dressed, even though you have no place to go. At that time, I couldn't drive. I couldn't hardly do anything. But what helped me the most was my therapist. She was great because she took it to the simplest task to just start here. You're starting up here, Eric, and you can't do it. We need to start down here. and build you up as you go. We can build you back better. But you have to know how. And I didn't know how. And she was great when it came to the how. She couldn't do it for me. But she could tell me how. And one of the things you're going to find out with a lot of people that are in mental health, that work in mental health, they either have a family member that had a mental health problem or they did. And in my case with her, she had suffered through depression when she was younger. And she was giving me some of the steps that she used to claw her way back and to get her master's degree in social. Where she was a therapist. So who better to learn from than someone that actually has done it, right? But we're going back to the simplest of tasks, all right? So you're getting up in the morning, you're getting a shower, you're getting dressed. All right, how about doing the dishes in the morning? See, we're adding one more thing as we go. And to most people that don't understand what I'm talking about, they're saying, hell, I do that every morning with no problem. That's good. This video isn't for you. This video is for the one that's struggling. And hopefully you'll never have to need my help or need to watch this video. Is my hopes. But we've added doing the dishes. How about vacuuming the living room floor? And as we get more comfortable with each task being added on, next thing you know, you're accomplishing a lot of stuff in that day. But if you looked at accomplishing all those tasks from day one, it's just not doable. And you give up. Start with the simplest task today, and that is getting out of bed. Do that for a week. Week 2, get out of bed, get a shower, and get dressed. And then add to it, get the dishes done. Vacuum the living room floor. Sweep the kitchen floor. Become productive. Become useful. And if you do end up going for therapy with a therapist, be 100% totally honest. Because a lot of what bothers a lot of people is just getting it off your chest, talking about it out loud. See, the way I look at it is if you go looking for the help and you get the help, in my eyes, you're a better person than if you just give up on yourself. Because that's the worst thing you can do, is to give up on yourself. You are worth it. Whether you care to believe it or not, somebody loves you. Somebody thinks about you on a regular basis. Someone's concerned about you. And you need to get back into that game. It could be, you feeling at your lowest point. Maybe you didn't suffer depression, but you're at a low point in your life where you feel like, there's no way out. And I'm telling you that there is. But sometimes we have to, humility, sometimes we have to take it to the lowest task, the smallest of tasks, and accomplish and add on as we go to get us back up to here. Instead of trying to go from here to here, we need to go from here to here to here to here. And as we go, we're getting stronger and we're adding things on that a lot of people take for granted. I take for granted today, but I don't. Just getting up in the morning, getting a shower, getting dressed, going to work. A lot of people, what's the big deal? Again, this video is not for all of you. It's for a small segment. And you may not have those problems right now, but you may develop them later on. I hope not. But if you do, at least you have, if you can watch this video, have a starting point of how to get your life back. Let me apologize to you guys that, this seems like you don't understand it. And I'm okay with that. But I just felt like today was the day to get it out and let people hear. And my goal always has been with this channel is if I can help one person, whether it be in business, whether it be in, mechanical, personal growth, you name it. It's not about me. It's about you. So if you're at that point of where you're putting your affairs in order and stuff like that, do me and you a favor and just stop right now. I'm telling you right now, you're not thinking straight, you're not thinking right, and you are worth getting the help you need. And if that means you go into a hospital for a week, do it. Do it for the people around you. But most importantly, do it for yourself because you're worth it. You are 110% worth it. On that note, guys, I know what a way to end the weekend, right? In the comments, if you have any questions and so forth. And, we can go more in depth into this subject. But I just felt that for some reason, it kept popping up. So when I have something keep popping up in my head, I'm like, somebody needs to hear this today. Of all days, today is the day they need to hear it. I'm going to try to do some repair videos. I know I kind of, today we're picking up a Ford tractor that's having running issues. We'll be doing that this morning first thing. We have to pick it up at 8. So we have that in the shop. I picked up a few other specialty tools at Harbor Freight yesterday that I want to show you. But you don't need in your toolbox, but for if you ever come into that application, you may need it. But on that note, you guys have a great Friday and a great weekend. I know you'll see me through the weekend. Sunday morning, my son is coming over, and Claude and I and Rob are going to be hanging up one of the steers to put freezer meat in my daughter's, Claude's, mine, and my son's freezer. That's all part of life on the farm, right? And I'm debating whether to do a video on that and put that up on my farming channel. But, again, you're worth it. So hang in there. All right.